Nothing ever seems to come easy for this year's edition of the Calgary Flames. A 2-goal third period lead against the Ottawa Senators. Last game of a road trip. You figure they're going to tuck these 2 points away and you're going to be feeling good. Big win in Buffalo. You find a way in Ottawa. You head home. Awesome. That's how you end a road trip. 2 goals in 46 seconds. Batherson, DeBrincat to overtime. Tim Stützle ends it. Flames lose 4-3 in overtime. There's lots to pick away at this retro, but we were kind of texting. It just feels like, what are they, a self-fulfilling prophecy or that sort of thing. When it became a 1-goal lead, 2 minutes left, too much time. They'll take the goalie out and they'll find a way to tie it. And sure as shit, they did.
As soon as they scored, it was like, yeah, for sure we're going to OT. And honestly, I thought Stützle was going to end it up in regulation at one point. I think he had a shot later on, late in the third, and I'm like, oh my god, they might not even get to overtime. But I'm going to say it. Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk about it. I don't think Markstrom can handle pressure.
I don't even know what to think with him right now.
There's so many praise him.
There's so many things that are happening. First period, breakdown, breakaway, 1-0. It's a breakaway. I don't know how you can necessarily blame the goalie. It just how many times? You're rattling off. Oh, there was the one against Laine against Columbus, and there's this one against. It just feels like every 3 or 4 games he's having to face one of those shots early on. And then you get into the late stages of a game there. And I'm with you. I just felt like they may lose it in regulation. Not a great goal in overtime. I get it's 3-on-3.
No, that's a shit goal in overtime. You got to have that stop. He shot it through him. It went through him. You got a defenseman pushing the guy out wide. I mean, it's not like he loaded up on the shot. He just released it. He knew it wasn't going to backdoor pass. There was no one else with the guy. I mean, all you got to do is hold your net and take the angle and block it. I mean, no, that's a horseshit goal.
And for a while, because I made the note that he's gonna go in the dressing room and he's going to like freak out on these guys because the shot clock was so lopsided at one point, and it was a 2-1 hockey game. You know what though? They made it a 3-1 game. You score 3. You hope to win. You were on the road. You'd played well enough to win.
Played well.
It's a kick right in the junk for sure. And I don't, goalies is they also, who knows what goalies are? Goalies are weird. Goalies are this. Goalies are that. We've seen a lot of uncharacteristic stuff from Jacob Markstrom. The I suck at hockey. That how he fell to pieces in that game against Edmonton early on in the season. He has not looked himself for any amount of time. He's still, again, last year, remember, what do you have, 8-9 shutouts at this point? He's got 0 shutouts on the season.
Well, usually his shutout chances are gone very early in hockey games.
Yeah, they haven't flirted with one.
And that being said, when there was 4 or 5 minutes left, I was like, you know what? He made a couple big saves and he played well. They got the 2 points. That's a nice end to a road trip, blah, blah, blah. I had the whole speech planned. And even the fact that Lewis and Lucic were playing every other shift, it seemed like in the third in a shutdown role. I'm like, that's well managed. They're doing that. They're contributing. Daryl's got guys, going to feel good about everybody chipping in on this one. This is a hell of a road trip, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you're going to long flight home, long road trip. The coach is going to be sour. Markstrom's going to be not a word said the whole way, right? Like this, they're not in a position where they can just shrug it off now either, right? It's not October. It's not November. It's late in the year. I mean, you're well into it and you need points. This is not a situation where, got away from us last game of a road trip. Not a big deal. We'll be fine. You needed those 2. You needed both points and you didn't get them.
And I thought early on, it looked like there was going to be some fatigue. And I wondered with Ottawa, good young team, right? They play with some speed. I thought it was maybe going to be an issue. I thought as the game went on, they were just fine. I thought they dug in pretty well
Yep.
until the final friggin' 2-46. Was there anything else? Because again, we were talking about it before we started here. The first goal to get them to within one, goalie was out, but I don't know that the extra attacker had actually made it in yet. It was just a goal. And that one there too, again, it feels like piling on. Markstrom makes that first save, and it's right there. He looks to his right. He has no idea where that puck is. And then it falls down and Batherson knocks it in. And then obviously that overtime goal. I'm with you. There was a lot of things. How great has Dylan Dubé been playing? Tyler Toffoli's on a roll. That top line, they had a great day in Buffalo. 7 points, I think, combined from those three guys. Kept it going today. Dubé looks right at home. It's hard right now to take much out of that. Daryl, does he say anything in the room after this game, or is it just pack your shit and let's go and we'll talk
I would
about
imagine it's let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
There's no sense. What are you gonna? Like I said, you can't shrug it off, and you can't. But there's also no sense going in there kicking garbage cans. I don't think at that point you got a goaltender that's already questioning his abilities, and you can tell is lacking some confidence. A game where you felt like actually he might come out of it feeling good, right? With 5 minutes left or whatever, 3 minutes left, you were like, he's going to come out of this game feeling good about it because he made the saves he needed to. Yeah, gave up a breakaway goal, but that shit happens. Finally, a situation where Markstrom can leave a game and feel like he had a say in how it went. And now that say is, I can't stop the puck when I need to. I can't make the big save when the pressure's on. And honestly, he's stressing out. He has to be. Like, even the DeBrink had hell of a shot, sure. I still think it's one of those two, I guess, you have to have.
And it's not as though he didn't make some good saves along the way, but you're right. It feels like when the vice tightens, when your nuts get squeezed a little bit.
Yes.
It does kind of feel like he's having a hard time in those moments. I'll just jump. We're right there. Rather than go away from it and then come back, let's do buy it or sell it here on Afterburner. Boomer and Red Warner, by the way. Derrick Newman, there you see it. D. Newman at CIR Realty. It is Derrick Newman of Newman Dean's Real Estate Group. Buy it or selling, let Derrick do the work for you. Email him, dnewman at cirrealty.ca, or call 403-619-6661. We know that Daryl Sutter loves number one goalies. He'll tell you, I don't like pulling goalies. He likes to ride number ones. We've talked a lot about that. I'm going to throw this out. You tell me, are you buying or are you selling? I say after this, coming home now from, do the math for me. Tonight was game 54. Dan Vladar makes more starts than Markstrom the rest of the way.
I will buy what you're selling. I'm going to buy that Vladar will play more games. The only issue I have is that once they get eliminated from the playoffs, it might just go back and forth. Honestly.
Yeah.
Or Daryl will make a statement and go, sorry, Markstrom, you didn't help us. We're going to find out what Vladar is. I mean, but I'm buying it. And I feel bad about it because it's a shitty situation. A Vezina finalist. And now you can't trust to put him in the net. And I don't know. Do you trust him? I don't.
It's getting harder. We're awfully deep into this season now.
Yeah.
And we've seen some of these breakdowns. And it's not even breakdowns. The guy's numbers all year long. We keep talking about, is he going to get over 900 in save percentage? Is he going to get back above 900? He's not showing any signs. He's making some routine stuff, but he's nowhere close to the game-saving shutout, league-leading shutout guy that he was a year ago.
No.
And you've played with a bunch of goalies, some of them quirky, some guys, boisterous, other guys very quiet and all that. I trust your judgment a lot of times on stuff like this. And it's easy just to pile on goalies and it's kind of the tongue-in-cheek defenseman joke, right? Oh, goalie should have had it. But you've been talking about this with Markstrom for long enough. I'm kind of inclined to believe you. There's something not quite right there. And I don't think he's injured.
Oh, I don't think he's injured at all either. I was actually going to ask, did he get? It shouldn't matter. We should, because off ice stuff should be irrelevant. But is he not freshly engaged or something? Like, is there distractions off the ice or differences in, you know what I mean, lifestyle?
Well, he
It's
was
not
all
about-
tanked up at Ranchman's during the All-Star break, singing "Ring of Fire" or something like that. It's easy. I just remember it now. Remember when he fell? There were a couple plays early in the first period where he went out to stop the rim and didn't quite get it. And then there was the one play where he kind of
almost fell.
He fell at the side of the net. It's like, what's going on here? Is this guy all right? What are we?
Yeah, but if he's hurt, then don't effing play him.
I'm not necessarily suggesting that he's injured, but it's just what's up, kid? What's happening?
Something's off. I mean, you don't go from Vezina to this. I'm sorry. And he's got the same coach he had last year, right? It's not like Huberto and Kadri and Uyghur coming into a new system and a new guy. He knew that coach last year, and he played well under him. So there's no more pressure this year than last. Maybe they're not scoring as much, but he's not making the saves, and he's putting them in holes typically to start games.
Oiler fans love to joke that Connor McDavid and the Oilers broke Jacob Markstrom. He was dynamite in that Dallas series and then shit himself. Well, a lot of guys did, but was not good in the Oilers series and hasn't been himself since. It's not nice to joke about but it's not good. It's not good for this team right now. They deserve to win that game tonight. And I don't know if now you go back, because for so long, games where he was losing, he didn't have a lot of goal support. And I had that. It was a 2-1 game. I figured he's going to freak out on these guys. Could you pot one, please? Like, we had 5-on-3 power plays for a minute or whatever there at the end of the first into the second, and they couldn't finish. But they get that insurance goal. You're in the third. Good teams, playoff teams, win those games. You don't give up 2 in the final minute.
Shut down. Absolutely shut down.
I do think we see Vladar. I don't know that there's much choice, and he's played well enough. That was his first loss, obviously, going back to Detroit. Man, and that was Markstrom's first win in Buffalo. I forget what it was. He was 0-5-3 or something prior coming in. It was his first win in over a month. So
the problem with all of it is every time they turn around, they're punching themselves in the face or kicking themselves in the nuts. Like, you're doing it to yourselves, fellas. This is not other teams coming in and taking over games and dictating play. They're just not getting the job done. And I don't know at what point you get disheartened by it if you're the players, right? Like Toffoli, you said, Toffoli, Dubé, some guys playing pretty good hockey, should be feeling good about themselves. And now you got to ride the F and plane home and not talk to anyone and pretend, you know what I mean? And hate the whole 5 hours of it. Like, it's the shits. And don't think, that's one of the bad things about Darryl is that, well, he can be good that way too. I got to catch myself, because sometimes when you're losing, he's better off, which is odd. But this doesn't feel like the year where he's going to he's going to put the screws to him even more. Yeah. So I don't know. It feels like it's spiraling a little bit.
That's Buy It or Sell It, presented by Derrick Newman of Newman Dean's Real Estate Group with CIR Realty. If you're buying, if you're selling, let Derrick do the work for you. Email dnewman@cirrealty.ca or give him a call, 403-619-6661. Now, on the flip side, they get a point. And it's what points get more points than games, that whole thing. I just feel like you're at some point you're going to run out of... These are games you should win. Yes, you got a point, and
they're not in a situation where more point. They have to win some effing hockey games.
The Senators, that was their 25th win of the season. The Flames have 25 wins.
And you make fun of the Sens like they're dog shit.
Not ideal,
right? Like the Flames aren't in a position. The only saving grace for the Flames is the fact that the other teams in the West have shit the bed too. That's it. That's the only saving grace for the Calgary Flames at this point. That is it.
Yeah.
It.
We talk about how they miss Chris Tanev when he's not in. You would have liked to have had Rasmus Andersson in
He's
these
got
last
two
couple of
top four
games.
defensemen out. Shillington was a top four defenseman last year. We don't talk about him a lot because it's none of our damn business what's going on in his personal life. You lose him and you lose Rasmus Anderson, and that's 24 minutes of ice of quality defenseman, and it shows.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know that you can pick holes and make excuses. You're up 3-1 with 2 minutes left. I don't. You're telling me there's not 5 guys or 8 guys or 10 guys on that roster that can't get you through 2 minutes of a hockey game to win it? Like, come on. You got Tanev, you've got Uyghur, you've got Hanifin, you got Zadorov. Like, these guys should be more than capable of handling that.
Would have been nice to see Hanifin hit the net in overtime on the breakaway.
As soon as I saw it was him, I'm like, well, that's not going to work out, right? Like, I'm like, anyone but, please.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't. It ain't his fault. That would be like me getting on a breakaway. I'd be looking at, do I have to can someone else take this over for me, please? Like, it's not his strong suit. Great skater, but he's not gifted offensively.
Just close your eyes and shoot it as hard as you can.
That's all he tried to do.
It's hard to pivot off of the goalie because there's obviously other aspects of this game. You could have scored more. You had that 5-on-3 that you didn't score. You had chances in overtime. The blown lead, because they had, I was trying to remember what it was. It wasn't as significant. It wasn't a 2-goal lead, but they did have that lead against the Rangers on the first game of this road trip, or second, if you ask Daryl. But in New York, Stone scored to give them a 1-goal lead, and then Zibanejad scored on the power play, and then they lose that one. So on this road trip, to have 2 third-period leads slip through their fingers, there would have been a time where a Daryl Sutter team, or this team, you wouldn't have had those in a few months, let alone twice in the course of a week.
That's why I can't tell if they're tuning Daryl out. Is that a possibility?
See, I don't know. Because I didn't hate the game.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. They were fine. They probably deserved the win. I actually, when you're watching it, you start to I make mental notes. I don't write them down because I'm strong up top. Yeah. But you kind of plan what you're going to think and say and talk about. And I'm like, I was actually going to make fun of Ottawa for being their young team. You can tell they're erratic. Like, they're trying to make their stick handling 800 times when they don't have stick handle at all. And Stützle has 4 points, but I was like, how many times did he turn the puck over too? Like, I thought Ottawa was an erratic team. You can see some skill on that team, and it was like all offense, all offense, all offense. I was actually going to make fun of the Ottawa defense. I think they're shit scared. They were petrified of getting hit. It was you go back and watch that game, and you'll see numerous occasions where they spend all kinds of time in their own end because they're scared shitless of getting body checked. Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
None of it matters because the Flames blew it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how they blew it. Like, I'm trying to envision, how did the second goal go in?
The
shot?
Yeah, Batherson is at the side of the net. And again, I'll have to go back and take a look. Markstrom makes the save on his glove side. And they had that kind of the behind the net above angle. And it was sitting right there. And it looked to me like he turned to his right. Every time I keep coming back, it was your buddy Noodles, Jamie McLennan. And he said, the one thing about Mika Kiprasov that was great, one of the greatest that you didn't realize, is that he always knew where the puck was.
Yeah.
His rebound control, that's one thing. And he would generally be able to kind of know where it was going. But even if he wasn't able to direct it, he knew where it was. And if he was in trouble, he knew how to find it. It just looked like he's kicked a few pucks right into the slot. And on that one specifically, he didn't know where it was. And then Batherson had time to tap it in.
But I get that part. But where's the breakdown? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be, because he's, like you said, it wasn't. That guy's still coming in off the bench, right? It's not like they had zipped it around the zone in a 6-on-5 for 20 seconds and found a lane and made a pass, blah, blah, blah. It's 5-on-5, really, and they lose coverage? Like,
It might not just be the
no,
goalie
that guy came in
who's
off the bench and he found the loose puck. Actually, we're wrong in that instance, but you're right. Now I'm watching it,
yeah.
and you watch Markstrom, and there's a screen, but it hits his glove and he loses it. That's
Yeah.
what happened.
It might not be just be the goalie
No,
who puckers up when you get into these stages of the game. This is a team that, if my math is right, they're 4-11 beyond regulation, 3-8 in overtime, 1-3 in the shootout. And it's
issue
not like
being they weren't. I get that part where Markstrom lets it in and they actually blow it in overtime, but they were up by 2.
Yeah.
This is not overtime yet. Like you, you have the lead, and you don't even. Anyway, it's something. I keep saying it. I don't think they're digging out of it.
You needed to pull it from the fire against the Blue Jackets. You lost to Chicago. You've lost to Ottawa. You just can't suffer these losses. I guess you got single points, and maybe we'll be wrong. Again, we said this on Friday because we went on the other show. We went off on Friday after that Detroit loss because it was hard to watch. I'll be happy to be loud wrong about this. Oh, you guys, hey, I'd love to be wrong. Like you said, go ahead, pull a St. Louis Blues, be near the bottom of the standings, and then get some unbelievable goaltending and some plucky come from behind efforts and find a way in and then go all the way. We'd love to see it. It's just hard to imagine with the points that they're giving away and then the performances where they don't show up. This hurts because they didn't necessarily deserve to beat Detroit that night. They probably should have won this game. Now, could they have lost? There were that stretch in the second period where I think Batherson missed the net and Stützle. Remember, they were and you know what? Markstrom looked like he was out of position on a lot of those too. They just missed the fucking net. Like Kachuk was at the side of the net and he couldn't score. Stützle was there. I think it was Giroux had the pass to DeBrincat and he couldn't hit the one timer.
Yeah.
He was kind of flailing there too. So,
but he was flailing and make saves, and you're up 3-1, and then it's like I said, I was ready to be like, great job, you battled, you held them to 1. Last game of a road trip, you found a way. That's gutsy. You got, I don't think they give a damn what we think of them, but I'm sure everyone in the media was calling out. Just like we were taking rubbing their noses in it a little bit, and they respond with 2 wins against 2. Well, Sabres, I think, are pretty good. Ottawa's young and talented, but then you blow it, and it leaves everyone that's been watching this team going, I can't trust you. I just can't. I've tried. I want to be behind you. I want to support you. But you're finding ways to do this, and typically against teams you should beat, aren't like really? You know what I mean? Like you hate to not give the other team credit, but all in all, the Flames are supposed to beat the Ottawa Senators.
If anything, you looked at this month, and this was the month that you had to. And you're only halfway through it. Christ, it's the 13th. But you had a lead in New York, and you settled for a single point, and you were no good against Detroit. And then you rebound against Buffalo. If you get 2 here, you're pretty happy with how things have been going. Plus, Seattle, before the All-Star break, I don't know, we do this friggin' show daily, and it's the roller coaster ride. Maybe we should be doing this once a week. I don't know. But it's hard after these games, because we did the show after the Detroit game and it stunk, and then you do this one and it was no good. You come home, you've got Detroit on Thursday, the Rangers come in on Saturday, and then it's Philadelphia on Monday. The Rangers look to be pretty good. Obviously, they made the trade for Tarasenko and that going back to last week, but Detroit is no screaming hell, and Philadelphia, they're not anything this year. And I get I'm just talking from a league-wide perspective. Then it's Arizona. And then you've got Vegas and Colorado and Boston and Toronto. So the Wolf is going to be at the door right away. Like, it's coming. These tough teams. Boston's going to be no fun. Colorado, that's...
Well, maybe it's for the best.
Win these games.
Maybe it's for the best, because maybe you'll have clarity by that trade deadline, one way or the other. I don't think you will, because I think they're good enough that they'll get a couple points and they'll get a couple wins. And I think they'll be in the exact same situation they are right now when the trade deadline hits. I don't think they're threatening to go on a 8-game point streak or win streak, and I don't think they're going to lose 8 in a row. But I think they'll muddle their way to the trade deadline, and then what?
Yeah.
Right? Then if you make a trade, is that the right? I don't envy Treliving trying to negotiate or manage this, because he's got to be going to say himself, what the hell have I got? I don't know. Are we a guy away, or are we dreaming that we're even close?
I don't know. I think I do.
I think
know.
it's the latter.
I don't see any way you can. I really don't. If this is in this,
well, you shouldn't, because your top goalie's no good. Honestly, that's a big piece of it. Last year, high-end team, your first line was one of the best in the league, and your goaltender was one of the best in the world. You do not have that. Neither one. So why should we expect that they're a playoff team? If you're a team that plays Sutter style hockey, you need a number one goaltender, a guy that they rely on, can shut things down for. Don't have it. Well, if you don't have that and you're a Sutter style team, you're going to have a hard time making the playoffs.
Let's do our cheers of the game while we're in high spirits here. It's a presentation of BK Bowfort Liquor, located on the Trans-Canada Highway across from Winsport, beside McDonald's. Stop in, stock up on your way out to the mountains. You can see them on social media, on Twitter at BK Liquor, on Instagram at BK Bowfort Liquor. Mandeep, our buddy Mandeep, my understanding is having a birthday today. Old Mandeeper.
Nice.
Happy birthday, buddy. Happy birthday.
He's almost a Valentine's child, eh?
Wow. I know. Yeah. He's a romantic. He's a sweet, sweet boy. So cheers of the game. There were some performances, and again, the tone and tenor of this show would be totally different if they hang on for a 3-1 lead, maybe get an empty netter, 4-1 coming home. Everyone's feeling great, but it's hard not to. But there were some performances and some gentlemen who did play well enough to earn a cheers. Who you got tonight?
I'm going to go completely off of the book or whatever, or not even in the game. My good buddy Steve Montador passed away on February 15th. And I'm going to raise a cup to my good buddy Steve. His son, Morrison, was at his first hockey practice last week. And I got a video of it, and it tickles me pink just to be able to see him out there and having fun and knowing how proud his old man would be of him. So thinking of you, Steve.
Never a bad time to raise a glass to old Monty. I like that one. I've gone to him a few times, man. Dylan Dubé with another great night. I don't know if anybody really had a hard time when Dubé went on that line with Lindholm and Toffoli, but you had to maybe kind of squint. You're spreading some things out. He's done everything you could have hoped for from this guy. Tonight sets a new career high. 33 points is a new career high for him. He has 15 goals. His career high there is 18. He should have no problem getting there. Had 4 points against the Sabres the other day. His speed, there's confidence. He's making plays, and he looks like, oddly, it's he and Toffoli really kind of seem to have something going. So I'm happy for him. Came into training camp, was in great shape, took the summer, took whatever Daryl had to say to him, took it to heart, came in, he was ready to go. So I'll do a cheers to Dylan Dubé. So cheers of the game. BK Bowfort Liquor, you know where they are. Go and see them. Trans-Canada Highway right across from COP, Winsport. And if you're heading out to the mountains, you just head in there, say hi to Mandeep, say hi to the family on
Happy birthday.
Twitter. And happy birthday. That's right. That is correct. 2-8-4 is our record since we've started doing this afterburner thing.
Now, you were here for the 2 wins, right? Like, I actually was thinking that you were going for your 3rd win tonight.
I think I was. Yeah, I felt pretty good about it too. I don't remember which they were. God.
St. Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis was one.
Don't have many.
And they probably pulled one other one from the friggin' fire. I don't feel like we had a lot to do with this one
No.
tonight. As they,
I don't think we ever have a lot to do with them, Dean, but maybe I'm wrong.
You know what? The kick in the junk here again. It's their third string goaltender. Their third string goaltender.
Well,
Anton Forsberg blew his fucking knees out 2 days ago. They bring this kid in, and I think that was his first win, or I think he got a win against Detroit last year. Like, come on, guys. Jesus.
I thought special teams was going to be the big key tonight, and they won them. But it didn't matter because I was like, well, the only way Ottawa wins is if the Flames take some penalties and they score a bunch of power play goals on their number 2 ranked power play.
Yeah.
Well, they did a good job.
Yeah, I was shocked when we had that on the other show today. The Senators have the number 2 power play in the entire National Hockey League, which I would not have guessed. But I guess if you start to look around, there's some offense there. But they did a pretty good job, all things considered, against that power play. They played well. If these weren't nearly piggybacked with all these other disappointing, shitty efforts where you've let leads go or you just didn't play well, you'd swallow it. Last game of a road trip, teams don't often win those things. Remember when Tampa Bay was here in town? They got rolled up by the Flames last game of their road trip. They just wanted to get home. I'm sure the Flames feel the same way. You had this one. This one's tough.
And it's very hard. And that's why you have to show up for a better match against a team like Detroit and not piss away, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a flat effort. Because you have games like this and you're screwing yourself over. Like they're doing it to themselves, and I think that's the hardest part.
It's interesting. We're seeing there's a lot of people. We're on the old Facebook and the Twitter retro and the YouTubes and all that. There's a lot of comments flying in, and I think there's a lot of people who are seeing what you're seeing, and that is that Jacob Markstrom does not look right.
He doesn't look right. He looks stressed out whenever the game gets tight, which is at the start of a game, or in tonight's scenario, late in a game when things get to squeeze. He doesn't look good. And I think probably a lot of fans are sick of we talked about it on Friday when we lit him up pretty good. They're sick of have a good season, have a shitty season, never really, because if they don't make the playoffs this year, if this is what we're going to get, what's next year bring? Like, are you going to keep the same squad together for next year after watching this muck for a year? I can't imagine. Maybe you are. That's a bold move, though, isn't it? Leaving it all those pieces in place and say, you know what? The year before, so last year right now, everyone played really well, maybe too good. Everyone was career years, whereas this year everybody's had down years. So next year we're going to have everybody back to having good years. Like I don't know what the faith in that is.
You'd like to have kept last year's team together.
Yeah.
That's the one you wanted to keep intact, but you couldn't. So now you've got this one, and the only problem is you've got some guys that are, as we know, entering year 1 of these long-term extensions. Kadri's in year 1, and then we know we know with Weegar and Huberdeau entering. And I didn't even mind Huberdeau tonight. I thought
he made a couple
plays. Mangiapane's starting to come around. Toffoli's been good. Dubé, shit.
But shitty. And here's the problem. Here it is. That's what they are. They're a team they're okay.
500.
Yeah, they're a 500 type squad. They're good enough to win some games. They're going to lose some games. If their goaltender's not a Vezina guy, they're not a guaranteed playoff team. And I don't know. It's great for us to say, play Vladar. Great. He's had a hell of a streak this year. He's played some really good hockey. He maybe should have got that nod earlier. But I'm not convinced he takes you to the promised land. I like him a better option right now because I don't trust Markstrom at all. But I don't know that that's saying a lot. Like, you're talking about a guy that's 7 out. So you're better than him? Jesus, I hope so.
It's never dull. Like it's never easy for the Flames, and it's never dull. It seems like every single year. That's the one thing about covering this team. There's lots of ups and downs. I remember at the start of last year, remember you were pissed off. You're like, what are we going to talk about? They keep winning every night. This is boring. Oh, look how good they are.
Mm-hmm.
This is giving you lots to talk about.
Yeah, plenty of fuel.
I'll be back on Thursday after the Detroit game. So, they fly home. I gotta think tomorrow, which is Tuesday, is an off day. They will practice Wednesday, 100%. And then it's Detroit on Thursday, and they'll start that. It's a brief homestand, but they'll have 3 home games. How do if you're Darryl, if you're the coaches, if you're the team, there's not much you can do. But what do you do to navigate the next 48 hours or so?
I still say, you watch that Ottawa team, like they were still more excited about playing hockey than the Flames. I thought the Flames had a fine game. They're in a position to win it, but Ottawa was more excited to play a hockey game. They had more emotion in the game. They made more mistakes probably, and they were in a spot to lose, but they came back. And I think part of the reason they get to come back is because they do have that excitement. Some way, it sounds ridiculous, but some way, somehow, you've got to have these guys emotional and excited to play hockey, because I still don't think they are. Like, I could be wrong, and maybe they're just real professionals, but that's all it looks like to me, is they're trying to be professionals and they're trying to go out and work and just be monotone and businesslike. And I don't want that. I want to see some piss and vinegar and having some fun and playing with excitement. They just, if they score in overtime, is their reaction as animated as Stutzel's and the Ottawa Senators?
No.
No, they wouldn't have had the big comeback, I guess. So maybe that's why. But they just, more often than not, to me, they're a flat team. And until they find a way to enjoy going to the rink and playing hockey and embracing the challenge, it ain't going to work out.
Well, and just kind of the last final thoughts. It's hard to get into that frame of mind when you don't give yourself enough chances to do it. I saw, because before the Senators played this game, they lost to Edmonton. And prior to that, they had won 4 straight. And they had 3 4-game winning streaks. The Flames haven't won 4 all year. You need to have a body of work that allows you more than 3 games, more than 7-9 days of feeling good before you hit that valley again. It's like, geez. You know, I don't know how you feel good. You felt awful after Chicago. You felt awful after Detroit, and you feel awful again.
Well, and not to belabor it, but I've been on a team like that where it's a win and 2 losses and maybe 2 wins and a loss, and you just never get on a roll, and you never get there. You just never get there. Is it possible? Sure. But I'll bet you go back to history of this league, there's not many teams that muck their way to a playoff and then a long playoff run, winning 2 and losing. The old 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because that's what the Flames are. And I don't even know if they're 2 steps forward. They might be 1 step forward, 1 step back.
A pair for Dylan Dubé. He's up to 15 on the season. Tyler Toffoli, his role continues. He has 22. That made it 8th. They had 3-1 lead, late stages of the 3rd, and then a pair of late goals. 2 in 46 seconds. Batherson, DeBrincat score, and then Tim Stützle in overtime. The Senators beat the Calgary Flames by a score of 4-3 in overtime. We'll be back with another Afterburner on Thursday after the game against the Detroit Red Wings back at the Dome. Retro, get some sleep. Big barn burner coming tomorrow. Need you fired up. Big boy.
Gotta stop yelling. Losing my voice.
Yeah, get some sleep, buddy. Good night, everybody. That's Afterburner.